After 3 heart-wrenching years apart, father discovers incredible life-changing transformation of son. James sat at the kitchen table, the weight of 3 long years pressing down on his chest. Morning light spilled through the window, casting faded shadows of the boy who once filled this house with laughter. His heart tugged painfully as he remembered Ryan's smile, the way it lit up their small world. Since the divorce, his son had been a distant star, bright but unreachable. But today, a local newspaper caught his eye, promising something he never expected. It screamed, "Young leader inspires change." With shaky hands, he turned the page and gasped. There was Ryan, with a radiant smile and a group of underprivileged kids clamoring around him, gazing up with admiration. Tears welled in James's eyes. Pride swelled inside him, fierce and raw, yet it felt like a double-edged sword tearing at his heart. How did his son grow into this incredible young man while James remained a factory worker, bound by the drudgery of life and echoes of regret? Each word in the article took him deeper, igniting old pain and slivers of renewed hope. Maybe he could still connect with Ryan. Maybe this was his chance to mend what had been broken. With determination firming in his chest, he set his mind to reach out. Dialing Ryan's number felt like stepping off a cliff. The call rang on, each tone amplifying his anxiety, until a voice answered, cold and distant. James's heart plummeted. "Dad," Ryan said, the weight of bitterness clear in his tone. Memories of their shared times, camping trips, and late-night talks flooded James's mind, but he also sensed the tightness of resentment in Ryan's voice. "Can we talk?" James asked, burying the clench of panic that rose with each passing second. "Why? You don't get to just waltz back in after 3 years." There it was, the frustration pouring out, leaving James feeling small and hollow. How did they get here? A storm of misunderstandings loomed over them, thick enough to slice through. Resentment built walls between them, and James felt each one as if it were a weight on his shoulders. As they faced each other, words grew heated, tangled in wounds only years of separation could create. Each revelation was a brick removed from a wall, but as the conversation deepened, so did James's realization of the pain his choices had caused. Just as tension reached its pitch, the annual Maplewood Community Celebration arrived. It was a chance for James to honor Ryan publicly, to finally say the words he feared wouldn't reach his son's heart. But when fate pulled them together again amid the celebration, vibrant lights twinkling in the twilight, both felt the pull between pride and pain. As James prepared to speak the words of admiration and love he held so close, the sudden twist of fate pulled the rug from under him. Standing there, faced with a situation that could push Ryan further away, James realized that this moment might shatter the hope he so desperately clung to. Would love bridge the unyielding distance created by years of hurt? How could he help Ryan understand the depth of his sacrifices? The night stretched on, leaving James breathless and uncertain, his heart aching for reconciliation, as shadows of the past lingered ominously. The outcome hung precariously in the air, all hope intermingling with the fear of irreversible loss. Ryan stood at the far end of the park, his hands shoved deep into the pockets of his jacket. The crowd around him buzzed with laughter and chatter, but all he could hear was his own heartbeat pounding in his ears. A kaleidoscope of emotions, anger, hope, frustration swirled within him as he watched his father from a distance, the man he hadn't seen in 3 years. James was pacing nervously near the community stage, glancing at the microphone as if it were a bomb about to detonate. With every glance, Ryan's breath hitched. Why had he even come? The memories of their parting hung heavy, blurring the joy of the festival. His father had simply walked away, leaving Ryan adrift in a sea of despair. And now, here he was, wanting to speak, wanting to connect. But what did James really know about him now? Could he really understand what those years of silence had meant? Soon, the moment came. James stepped onto the small stage, his silhouette framed by twinkling lights. He took a breath, his face illuminated by the fading sunset, revealing the worry etched into his features. Ryan's heart softened for a fleeting second, but concern quickly clouded that warmth. Would this be a moment of vulnerability, or a desperate plea that would push them both back into their separate corners. "Good evening, everyone," James began, his voice trembling slightly. "I stand here today proud of my son, Ryan." He paused, swallowing hard. Ryan's gaze was locked on him, searching for something: an apology, a promise, maybe even regret. James continued, "He's done remarkable things in this community, things I could never have imagined." The crowd began to cheer, but Ryan remained still, feeling the weight of every word, the resonance of their estrangement. Each clap felt like a reminder of how far apart they were. If only James knew the magnitude of his absence. James's voice took on a deeper timbre. "But I've also failed to be there for him. My choices, my mistakes, they've created a distance between us that I deeply regret. I'm here to say I'm sorry, Ryan. I'm sorry for the years lost." Ryan flinched at the honesty spilling from his father's heart. Sorry. The word hung in the air, rich and heavy, pressing down on him. Could it be enough? Could years of feeling abandoned and betrayed be wiped away with a single word? As James went on, speaking about the work that Ryan had done, the kids he'd helped, Ryan felt his own pride surfacing despite the years of hurt. He had fought to be a leader, to harness the pain for something good. But confronting James still felt like looking into a mirror that reflected his insecurities rather than his strengths. "Ryan, I want to be part of your life again. I want to see the man you've become," James pleaded, opening his arms as though to bridge the gap that had grown so vast. A hush fell over the crowd, sensing the fragile tension pulsing between father and son. Ryan's body trembled as emotions rose and fell like the tide, yet, in that moment of vulnerability, the world around him blurred again. James's love, standing there raw and exposed, ignited a flicker of longing within Ryan. Memories of happier days fought against the memories of pain. Could he let himself reach out? The question hung between them, a fragile thread ready to snap. Would Ryan take that first step toward reconciliation? Or would the years of hurt keep them shackled in silence, forever distant? As the crowd waited, breathless, Ryan felt the air shift, thick with possibility. But as he opened his mouth to speak, something unexpected happened. A sudden shout pierced through the festive atmosphere, shattering the delicate moment. Ryan turned, heart racing again. What would break now? His heart, or the chance to reclaim his father? Ryan's heart skipped a beat as he turned toward the voice that had shattered their moment. The sudden shout came from a young woman near the front of the crowd, her face flushed with excitement. "Look out! The fireworks are starting early." The air thickened with anticipation as heads turned towards the sky, and Ryan's focus shifted momentarily. Fireworks already? That wasn't supposed to happen. It felt wrong, a distraction from the raw vulnerability between him and his father. James's face mirrored Ryan's confusion, the moment of connection slipping just out of grasp. The first burst of color lit up the night, painting the low clouds in vivid reds and blues. But Ryan didn't care about the display. His heart was still pounding, his father's words still lingered in the air. He locked eyes with James again, whose expression was an unsettling mix of hope and fear. Ryan could see that this was it. This was the moment. A chance to step forward or retreat. The flickering fireworks were bright, but they couldn't drown out the shadows of their past. James stepped closer, the crowd around them melting away, the explosions of light becoming a distant hum. "Ryan," he said again, softer this time. "Please, why now?" Ryan found himself asking. His voice was barely loud enough to rise above the blasts in the distance. "Why after all this time?" "I've thought about you every single day," James replied, his voice cracking. "The last 3 years they've been unbearable. I was weak, and I let my own fears take my family away. But I want to change that. I want to know you again. I want to be more than just a ghost from your past." A firework exploded overhead, showering sparks in the night, mirroring the emotions swirling within Ryan. "You don't understand what it was like for me, Dad," he whispered, raw emotion spilling out. I had to learn to navigate life without you. I became the person I am not because of you, but in spite of you. James looked pained, but Ryan continued, you think an apology will undo the hurt? That I'll just forget and we can start fresh? It's not that simple. Then what can I do? James asked, desperation coloring his words. I don't know, Ryan said, frustration washing over him. I really don't. I want you back in my life, but his voice trailed off, an ocean of indecision reflecting in his eyes. James stepped back slightly, hands clawing at the air in an effort to express his remorse. Just give me a chance. One chance to prove to you there is still time. Time to fix this or at least start the journey. We're more than just our mistakes. As the crowd whipped into a frenzy over the fireworks, Ryan felt his heart tugged in two directions. The early explosions were spectacular, but they could never compete with the turmoil rocketing between him and his father. He glanced around, noticing how everyone else was immersed in the bright spectacle, oblivious to the storm brewing in the bittersweet space between them. Could he let this man back into his heart? Could they forge something new from the ashes of their broken past? A part of him ached for the connection, the love of a father, while another cautioned against the hazards of trust. Time had left its mark, and the distance between them wasn't just about years lost. It was a chasm of hurt, disappointment, and longing. As the final firework lit up the sky, a brilliant white burst that illuminated everything, Ryan realized he was at a crossroads. One direction led to reconnecting to hope and the other to closure, even if it felt like a door slamming shut. With the light slowly fading, Ryan exhaled deeply, ready to speak once more. But what would he say? The weight of his choice pressed down on him. And just as he found his voice, another shout sliced through the festive air, more urgent this time. What could possibly crash their fragile moment again? What lay hidden in the shadows behind the bright lights? Ryan! Look out! The voice came from deeper in the crowd, and the urgency sent a shiver down his spine. Before Ryan could turn, he felt the ground shift beneath him as someone pushed past. A gasp rippled through the people nearby, and for a brief moment, Ryan's focus wavered from his father. He spun around, fear creeping into his chest, trying to make sense of the chaos unfurling around him. Then came a crash, a loud thud that echoed in the night air, echoing like a thunderstorm. A few feet away, someone had stumbled and fallen. People around the scene parted, and Ryan saw a man on the ground, clutching his arm. Panic welled up inside Ryan. When he turned back to James, he saw his father's eyes widen in realization and concern. Is he hurt? Ryan asked, instinctively stepping toward the crowd. James caught his arm, grounding him. Wait. Let us see if he needs help first. Ryan's heart raced. There was a firework display in the sky, vibrant and exciting, yet all he could focus on was the sharp panic that overshadowed the festive atmosphere. Those colorful sparks momentarily dulled as the reality of the man's fall set in. The crowd had begun to murmur, some seeking help while others simply stood in shock. Against the backdrop of bombs bursting in air, Ryan made his decision and darted forward. He reached the man, whose face was flushed with pain and embarrassment. The man's eyes met Ryan's, filled with a blend of relief and fear. I think it's broken, he gasped, cringing as he tried to move his arm. Just hold still, Ryan said, instinctively taking on a role he never knew he could. We're going to get you help. Ryan glanced back over his shoulder at James, who had followed closely behind. There was a moment of understanding between them, a tiny thread of connection weaving tighter in the face of unforeseen struggle. As the crowd buzzed around them, the tension of the earlier confrontation faded slightly. Amid the chaos, Ryan recognized the importance of this act. He wasn't just stepping up for another, I was finally choosing to act. Just then, the sirens of an ambulance wailed in the distance, their melody piercing the festive night air. Ryan's heart ached for the injured man, but also for his own wounded pride. Fear lifted slightly as he focused on taking action. He felt a spark of purpose, one that overshadowed the turmoil he felt moments ago with James. Stay with me, Ryan urged the man, speaking calmly as he knelt beside him, eyes steady and reassuring. The man's breathing calmed, as if he felt Ryan's determination. Ryan sensed James hovering nearby, his big presence offering silent support. Do you remember the first time you held me? Ryan found himself asking, as if testing the waters of emotions once more. James's gaze faltered, he took a breath before replying. Of course you were so tiny, fragile. Then don't you dare look away when someone's hurting. Not now, and not ever again, Ryan interrupted, surprising even himself. The words just slipped out, raw but sincere. In that moment, enveloped in both warmth from the fireworks above and urgency below, Ryan realized this was more than an accidental reminder of pain. It was a moment of reckoning, not just for James but for him as well. Just then, the distant sound of music mingled with the sirens. The paramedics arrived, their professionalism instantly putting the crowd at ease. Ryan stood up, watching the medics take over, the buzzing adrenaline slowly settling into a sense of fulfillment. At that moment, Ryan turned to James, uncertainty still hanging between them. Was this a real shift? Could they build something new on the remains of what had been? As the lights flickered like stars above, Ryan's heart raced not just from fear, but from the possibility of real connection. Could they both allow themselves to heal, together this time? But before he could voice his thoughts, a deafening explosion shook the air. The final firework boomed bright and thunderous, its blinding light illuminating everything around them. Suddenly, in that blooming chaos, Ryan's phone buzzed in his pocket. Vibrating wildly. Who could be calling him now? What could be waiting for him on the other end? Ryan pulled out his phone, the screen lighting up with a name he hadn't seen in years. It made his heart skip a beat. Danielle. What could she possibly want now? He hesitated for a moment, everything around him fading into a background hum. The medics were attending to the fallen man, their voices lost in the chaos. Meanwhile, James stood just behind him, watching, waiting. Ryan? James's voice pulled him back. Are you okay? No, he wasn't okay. Everything felt like it was shifting under his feet again. He took a deep breath and pressed answer. Hello? He said, trying to keep his voice steady despite the storm of emotion swirling inside him. Ryan. It's me. Danielle's voice came through, bright but strained, like someone holding back tears. Danielle. His mind raced back to their last encounter, filled with unresolved tension and harsh words. It had been 3 years since they had last spoken. What is going on? I need to talk to you. It's important. She took a shaky breath. Something happened. I can't explain it over the phone. Every nerve in Ryan's body buzzed with anxiety. Important? What did that even mean? Is this about us? I wish it wasn't, she admitted, her tone shifting to something softer. But it's south about someone close to us. Ryan's heart tightened. Did she mean family? His mind was racing with thoughts of his mother, who had been struggling with health issues. Had something happened? What about Mom? No, it's not her. It's your father, she said. I need you to listen. Something changed in my life. In his life. I need to explain everything. Can we meet? Please. 1,000 questions flooded his mind, each one fighting to surface. How could there be a change in his father's life? And why did Danielle, someone who once felt like family, suddenly hold the key to some vital piece of the puzzle? Before he could respond, he felt James placing a hand on his shoulder. The weight of that simple gesture reminded Ryan of the safety his father had always provided, no matter how fractured their relationship had become. Ryan? Danielle prodded again, her voice quaking through the line. Okay, he finally said, his mind still spinning. When and where? Tomorrow. A little cafe by the park. I'll text you the address. There was a pause, then she added softly, I really hope you'll come. Yeah, okay. He hung up, staring at the phone. The familiar pang of nostalgia mixed with a sharp edge of anxiety. What was that about? James asked, his expression concern etched on his face. It's Danielle. She wants to meet. Something's going on with you. Ryan couldn't hide the confusion in his voice. James's brows furrowed, and Ryan could see the lines of worry deepen. Do you think it's serious? I don't know, Ryan replied, the uncertainty gnawing at him like an open wound. But I think it could change everything. The chaotic sounds of the festival pulsed around them, but their world felt like it had slowed to a crawl. Do you want me to go with you? James asked, his offer a simple flicker of support. Ryan's heart warmed momentarily. They had been on a rocky road, but he didn't want to face this battle alone. Yeah. I think I'd like that. A low hush fell over them, broken only by the distant pop of firecrackers. Ryan swallowed hard. What could Danielle possibly say that would unravel the mess of emotions they had both endured? As night fell deeper, casting shadows around them, he couldn't shake the feeling that this meeting might also change everything between him and James. Maybe this was the moment they needed, the turning point they'd been waiting for, but as they made their way through the crowd back toward their car, Ryan glanced at his phone once more, that unease creeping back in. What awaited him at that cafe tomorrow? And as the lights from the fireworks faded into the distance, he couldn't help but wonder just how deep the revelations would go. Ryan woke up the next morning, the sunlight pouring through the thin curtains of his bedroom. He felt like he hadn't slept at all. The weight of Danielle's call hung over him like a storm cloud. His heart raced as he thought about what could be coming. What could she possibly have to say about his father? He and his dad had always had a complicated relationship. It wasn't the kind of bond that easily mended with a simple phone call, and the thought of Susan discussing him with Danielle sent a chill down his spine. He rubbed his eyes hard, willing himself to push away the thoughts. Hey, you ready? James's voice cut through Ryan's fog, bouncing off the walls like a playful reminder of the day's responsibilities. Not really, Ryan admitted, forcing himself out of bed. He dragged on a pair of jeans and a hoodie, the comfort of the fabric doing little to settle his nerves. The cafe wasn't far, but it felt like miles as he imagined what awaited him. With every moment that passed, Ryan checked his phone. A new message from Danielle had popped up. See you soon. He stared at the screen, briefly caught in her new words. He wasn't ready for this. On the drive there, his fingers tapped nervously on his knees. The streets were buzzing with people, unaware of the turmoil rumbling inside him. James made small talk, but Ryan couldn't focus. He watched the trees lining the street, their branches reaching out like arms, and wished he had someone to lean on. Arriving at the cafe, the smell of coffee enveloped him like a warm blanket, yet it did little to soften the swelling anxiety in his stomach. As soon as he stepped inside, he spotted Danielle sitting at a small table in the corner, her back turned to him. Let's do this, Ryan muttered to himself, taking a deep breath before stepping forward. The moment she sensed his presence, she turned. Her eyes were bright, a mixture of relief and fear, and his pulse quickened. Ryan, she said softly, a tremor in her voice. Hey. He felt awkward, unsure how to bridge the gap of 3 years in a simple greeting. Thanks for coming. She motioned for him to sit, and he obliged, avoiding eye contact for a moment. The tension was thick, and he could feel it pulling at his insides. They sat in silence for a moment, the hum of the cafe around them fading into a void. Ryan finally found the courage to look at her. You said it was important. What is going on? Danielle took a deep breath, her hands clasped tightly together. It's about your father, Ryan. Something's happening, he's changing. What do you mean? Ryan's voice cracked slightly, the weight of her words pressing down on him. How do you know? What does this have to do with you? I've been working closely with him. She hesitated, searching for the right words, on some things that you don't know about. It's complicated. He's different now. He wants to reach out. Ryan felt his heart skip again. Different how? What does he want? Suddenly, she looked vulnerable, almost as if the weight of this connection was too heavy for her to bear alone. He wants to make amends, Ryan. He wants to talk to you. But he is scared. Scared? It felt absurd to hear. His father? Scared? Ryan's mind raced. Hadn't they spent years avoiding this kind of conversation? And if Danielle's claim was true, what did that mean for their history? Yeah. Danielle spoke softly, an ache in her tone. He's been dealing with a lot, Ryan, more than you know. I'm not here to manipulate the past, I promise. But your father, he's ready to be honest, to make things right. Ryan stared at her. His entire life had been built around the absence of his father's presence, the silence from years of hurt and misunderstanding. The thought of his father wanting to reconcile was a tidal wave of possibilities, crashing into his thoughts, but just then, his phone buzzed again. A text flashed across the screen. Ryan, please. I need you. It was from his father. What? Ryan was stunned, a mixture of shock and something unnameable flooding through him. Danielle leaned in, her expression filled with concern. You have to understand. There is so much more to this. As the content of the message sunk in, Ryan found himself at a crossroads. He could either take a step back, afraid to tread on shaky ground, or push forward and seek answers that had long been buried. Danielle, I need to know more, he whispered, nerves shooting down his spine, and in that moment, he understood, today wasn't just about facing his father. It was about confronting the past and possibly reshaping his own future. But could he really take that leap? The clock ticked in the distance, each second echoing louder as tension wrapped around him. What was his father about to reveal? And was Ryan ready to hear it? Ryan's heart raced as he watched the clock's minute hand creep toward the hour. Danielle's eyes bore into him, filled with an intensity that made it hard to breathe. He was suspended in time, a mix of hope and dread swirling within him. Could this really be the moment where everything changed? Your dad is different, Ryan, she urged, her voice almost a whisper now. He's been through a lot, and it's making him rethink everything. You keep saying that, Ryan shot back, an edge creeping into his carefully controlled tone. But you're not saying anything specific. The tension corded tightly in his throat. What has he been doing? Why reach out now? Danielle leaned back, steeling herself, as if this conversation was as heavy for her as it was for him. He's been volunteering at a shelter. Talking to families, listening to their stories. It's changed him. I've seen it, Ryan. He's trying to connect with his past, and I think he wants to connect with you too. Volunteering? The word hung in the air. It felt foreign. His father was not the kind of man who sought redemption through altruism. What does that even mean? Is it some kind of project to make himself feel better? Maybe, she said gently. But it's more than that. This isn't just about him, it's about realizing how much he lost when he lost you. Ryan shifted uncomfortably in his seat, uncertainty flashing in his chest. So, what? We just pretend all the years of hurt never happened? That he didn't walk away when I needed him? No. Danielle's emotion cut through the cafe noise, drawing a few glances from nearby tables. That's not what I'm saying. He knows he hurt you. He knows he can't take it back. But he's willing to try, to start somewhere, if you let him. Silence stretched between them like a taut rope. Ryan felt the weight of each second as his mind raced. He didn't know how to reconcile the man he thought he knew with this new version that Danielle was painting. Could he trust her? Or was she just trying to soothe the storm brewing inside him? And then, almost instinctively, he glanced at his phone. The message still sat there, a haunting echo of urgency. Ryan, please. I need you. Do you think he means it? Ryan whispered, unsure whether he was asking Danielle or himself. Yes, she answered firmly. But it's up to you to decide if you're willing to take that step. Ryan exhaled, feeling the flutter of his heart, the raw vulnerability of this moment. Trusting again felt like reaching into an abyss. He pushed his phone away, finally meeting her gaze. I want to know. But it's going to be hard, isn't it? It can be, she replied softly. But think about how freeing it could be to finally let go. To have a chance for something new, even if it's scary. The thought wrapped around him, both sweet and torturous. Could he really let go of the anger? Could he find a way to forgive? Just as questions swam in his mind, he felt a pull and urge to reach for the future, even if the past loomed large. What's the next step? Danielle hesitated, then softly said, talk to him. Don't let fear keep you from healing. A wave of determination washed over Ryan. He grabbed his phone, fingers hovering over the screen as he prepared to respond to his father. But just before he pressed send, a new message buzzed. He opened it and felt the blood drain from his face. It read simply, I'm waiting for you. Danielle, he breathed, feeling the weight of what this meant. Her eyes widened, knowing that whatever came next was going to change everything. Ryan, what are you going to do? He glanced back up, feeling the walls of his past closing in. Would he answer the call? Or would he stay trapped in the echoes of yesterday? As he stared at the screen, one thought pierced through the chaos: his father was waiting. And with that realization came a rush of both terror and exhilaration. The moment was here, but could he really step into the unknown? And just like that, he knew he had to choose. Ryan swallowed hard, his throat dry, the screen of his phone glowing brightly in the dim light of the cafe. Every heartbeat felt amplified as he weighed his options: inviting his father back into his life or shutting the door on years of hurt. Danielle's steady gaze anchored him. You can do this, Ryan. This isn't just about him. It's about you too. You deserve to find peace. What did peace even look like after all this? Could it be found in a conversation that could either mend or break? He thought about the silent nights, the empty calls, and the man who was supposed to be there but wasn't. I am terrified, he admitted, biting his lip as he toyed with the phone. I know, she replied softly. But you can't let fear dictate your life anymore. Remember who you are. In that moment, her words struck a chord deep within him, reminding him of the boy who once believed in second chances, the boy who used to dream of family dinners and laughter. It was a distant memory now, but it flickered like a candle in the dark. Taking a deep breath, Ryan hit the reply button. His fingers trembled as he typed, where? Seconds felt like an eternity, but then the response came almost immediately, at the shelter. I need to see you. The urgency in those words shook him. A part of Ryan wanted to run away from everything he felt, the anger and the vulnerability. But another part of him held firm, demanding he take one step forward. He turned to Danielle, surprised by the wave of determination swelling within him. I'm going. I have to know if he's really changed. Are you sure? She asked, concern knitting her brow. It could hurt or it could help, he countered, feeling a knot of courage gaining strength in his chest. I deserve to know where we stand. I owe myself that much. With each word, he felt a layer of his anger peel away, making room for something new, something like hope. Okay, she nodded, her face softening. Just remember, it's okay to feel whatever you feel. Open yourself up to the possibility. Ryan nodded, rising from his seat. He glanced around the cafe, momentarily lost in thought about all the moments he wished he could go back and change. But he shook his head. This was about moving forward. As he stepped outside, the cool air hit his face, sharp and awakening. A part of him still fought against the flood of emotions threatening to overflow, yet he felt a spark ignite within, an urge to reclaim what he thought he'd lost for good. Driving to the shelter, each turn felt like a risk. Would he find a stranger in the man who used to be his dad? Or would he find a glimmer of the father who once held him close? When he arrived, the sign overhead read Open Hearts Shelter. The irony didn't escape him. Would his heart be open today? He stepped inside, the warmth enveloping him as he scanned the room. People were gathered, some chatting, others sharing stories. And then he saw him, a familiar figure sitting at a table, looking both older and somehow softer. Ryan's breath hitched in his throat. The man he once idolized looked out of place, as if he, too, were grappling with what lay ahead. His father looked up, their gazes clashing. For a moment, the world around them faded. They were caught in a bubble of memories, unresolved feelings, and a tentative thread binding them together. Would they find a way to mend the jagged edges of their past, or would it all unravel further? Ryan, his father said, his voice trembling slightly, carrying both recognition and regret. Time froze around them. This was the moment. Ryan could either step into the light, or retreat into shadows once more. As hope and doubt danced within him, he took a breath and stepped closer. "Can we talk?" And with those words, the possibility of healing hung in the air, heavy and uncertain. How would this conversation unfold? Would it be the beginning of a new chapter or simply another chapter of pain? With the past pressing close behind him, he ventured into this new unknown, heart racing, but this time, perhaps for different reasons. Ryan could barely hear the bustling cafe around him. It felt like everything had faded away except for the weight of his father's gaze. The words "can we talk?" echoed in his mind, tumbling over one another like a jumble of loose change. His father motioned to an empty chair across the table, a gesture both hesitant and inviting. It was an offer that felt heavy with the past. With every step forward, Ryan could almost hear the echoes of his childhood laughter, arguments, the undeniable silence that followed. Sitting down, Ryan felt a strange mix of anger and confusion swirling in him. He needed answers. He needed to understand. "Thanks for coming," his father began, wringing his hands nervously. "I know it's been a long time." The words hung in the air, thick with unspoken pain. Like a rubber band pulled tight, Ryan's heart beat in time with his growing frustration. "You have no idea how long it's been," he spat before catching himself, pulling back. "I mean, 3 years without hearing from you. Do you even realize what that feels like?" His father sighed, the weight of shame etched deep into the lines on his face. "I do. I've thought about you every single day. I didn't know how to reach out, how to make it right." There it was, a crack in the barrier that had surrounded him for so long. Ryan's anger wavered, replaced by a mixture of longing and sorrow. "So you just thought it was easier to disappear?" The question hung there, filled with bitterness. "I got lost," his father admitted, his voice almost a whisper. "I've struggled, Ryan. I had to get my life together before I could even think about seeing you again. I was afraid of what you might see." Afraid? Ryan felt the sting of that word. It turned in his gut like acid. "Afraid you'd hurt me again?" "No, Ryan," his father replied urgently. "Afraid of what I had become. I didn't want you to see me like that. I wanted to show you I could be better." "Better?" Ryan couldn't help the scoff that escaped him. "Years went by and you thought waiting was better than just sending a message. One message could have changed everything." He could see his father flinch at the sting of his words, could see the flicker of regret in his eyes. "I know, and I'm so sorry." In that moment, Ryan's heart broke just a little bit more, the anger melting away like ice in the sun. Beneath all the hurt lay a flicker of hope. "What have you done to change?" It was a simple question, yet it carried the weight of their shared history. His father hesitated, then reached for a worn journal resting on the table. "I started writing every day. Journaling my thoughts, my struggles, and working through my past. It's been hard, but I've been going to meetings and trying to improve myself. I wanted to be the man you needed, not the man I was." Ryan watched his father's hands tremble as he flipped the pages open. "I even signed up for a class to learn more about my anger issues. I've tried so hard to face my past, our past." Ryan leaned in, curious now. A part of him wanted to believe, craved the idea of a father who could finally step up. But could words really mean anything? Can you show me? He asked, his voice wavering. Can you show me you've changed? I'll do everything I can, his father said with a sudden fierceness in his eyes. I'm not asking for forgiveness yet. I don't expect it. But I want you to see that I'm trying. I'm here now, and I want you in my life if you'll let me. The air felt charged, a fragile web connecting them, ready to either break or build anew. Ryan took a deep breath, feeling the rush of emotions mingle inside him. Part of him longed to grasp this chance with both hands, but another part grieving and wounded held him back. Could he risk opening up again? His heart pounded, the question swirling in his mind. He wanted a father, not just an empty promise. Let us take it slow, he finally said, his heart both heavy and light. I want to believe you, but it's going to take time. His father's expression softened as a spark of understanding flickered between them. I can do that. I'll take all the time you need. As they sat in that crowded shelter, the past still loomed, but the faintest hint of a future began to shimmer. Could it really be possible to reclaim their lost years, one conversation at a time? For the first time in years, everything felt like it might begin to change. But as Ryan stared into his father's eyes, hope swelling within him, he couldn't shake the question: was this the moment that would tear them apart once more, or the start of something new? James sat at the table in the shelter, heart pounding in his chest, each second feeling like a lifetime as he awaited Ryan's response. Here they were, two men who had spent far too long in the shadows of hurt and regret, trying to navigate the uncharted waters of rebuilding their relationship. Ryan's silence was deafening, thick with the weight of unspoken words and emotions that hung heavy in the air. Finally, Ryan spoke softly, let us take it slow. I want to believe you, but it's going to take time. James felt a rush of relief, a crack in the icy facade that their relationship had become, a flicker of warmth igniting where there had only been despair. I can do that, he said, voice trembling with sincerity. I'll take all the time you need. A small smile crept across Ryan's face, fleeting but genuine. The moment felt fragile and precious, filled with possibility, two hearts crossing a threshold they thought might never open again. For years, James had feared the rift was too wide to bridge. But now, as he looked into Ryan's eyes, he saw a glimmer of hope. Can we start fresh? Ryan asked, vulnerability etching his words. Can you really show me you've changed? James nodded vigorously. Absolutely. I've been working on myself, trying to understand my mistakes. I don't expect forgiveness overnight, but I want to be the father you deserve. Then let us take it one day at a time, Ryan replied, his tone resolute. I'm scared, Dad. I don't want to reopen wounds that haven't healed. With each agreement, the walls they built began to crack. They weren't completely mended, but each word felt like a thread, weaving their stories together again. As the afternoon wore on, they shared stories, learning about the spaces they had occupied during their time apart. Ryan told James about his volunteering, his commitment to making a difference. In return, James shared his journey of transformation, his newfound resolve to prioritize love and presence over pride. I never wanted to hurt you, James admitted, eyes shimmering with unshed tears. I let my fears get the best of me. But I promise I'm here for you now. Ryan seemed to accept that, nodding slowly. I can see that. There was a newfound lightness in the air, a tentative hope beginning to bloom amidst the remnants of their fractured past. The tension they once shared felt like a distant memory, replaced by the warmth of shared laughter and vulnerability. As they spoke, the background noise of the shelter faded. Volunteers moved about, sharing smiles, exchanging greetings, their laughter dancing lightly through the air. The chatter reminded James of the family gatherings of times gone by, where he and Ryan played games, shared meals, and enjoyed each other's company. Maybe, just maybe, they could create new traditions together. A moment of silence enveloped them as they gazed out the window, watching the sun dip below the horizon. Are we really doing this? Ryan asked, half in disbelief. Yes, James said, his heart swelling with gratitude. We're finally doing this. Finally, a moment of realization washed over James. This was the beginning of their healing journey, and it had started with a single courageous step. The past could not be undone, but it didn't have to define them. Ryan broke the silence. You know, I think we have a lot to catch up on, and maybe we can even work together on some projects at the shelter. The idea blossomed between them like a blooming flower. I'd love that, James replied, excitement warming his heart. He could feel the ties of their bond strengthening, forming a new foundation on which they could stand. Days turned into weeks, and they spent more time together, rebuilding trust and sharing their lives. Slowly, laughter began to fill the spaces that had once been heavy with silence. Hurdles would come, but now they faced them together. Father and son. One afternoon they stood side by side at a fundraising event for the shelter. Watching Ryan interact with the children had James bursting with pride. It felt surreal to witness the young man before him, resilient, kind-hearted, and driven. The admiration swelled within him. Ryan caught his father's gaze, sharing a knowing smile. In that instant, James understood that while the past could never be erased, they had transformed the narrative of their relationship into something beautiful, something rooted in love and forgiveness. Finally, as the sun began to set, painting the sky a brilliant orange hue, James took a deep breath. I love you, Ryan, he said, heart full. Ryan's face lit up with a radiant smile, nothing like the distant boy from 3 years ago. I love you too, Dad. The words hung between them, heavy yet palpable, the kind that shifted everything. As they stood together, a sense of completion settled in. They had journeyed through shadows and emerged into the light, not just as father and son, but as friends ready to inspire change together. There would always be more challenges ahead, but for the first time in years, they faced a future not full of uncertainty, but one bursting with hope, and it was only just the beginning. Now, as we wrap up this emotional journey, remember your support makes a difference. You need to subscribe now to our channel to keep up with more exclusive stories that transform lives. Leave a like now to help our message reach even more hearts. Comment below how you felt about this powerful ending. Share your thoughts, and don't wait not even one more second to share this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this transformation. Spread the love, and let us continue creating a community built on healing and connection.